L. L is for a lion with a lollipop. L is for Lamborghini. L is for life. L is for London. L is for lingo, language. Lado Gudiashvili. L is for Lolita. L is for ladder, and leaf, and Lego.
Hello, my name is Jim. Welcome to my booktube channel about books and reading and stuff. What do these four have in common? Casanova, Benjamin Franklin, Laura Bush, and Chairman Mao. Continuing the alphabetic series, we're now at the L tag. Here we have a lion with a lollipop. L is for Louis L'Amour. Louis L'Amour is famous as a Western writer. He's the best-selling Western writer ever. He's sold over 300 million books, which puts him in the same league as the likes of Paulo Coelho, Stephen King, Jeffrey Archer. He sold more than Zane Grey or Karl May, who are also best-selling Western writers. Louis L'Amour was from North Dakota. He left school at the age of 15 and he did many different jobs. He travelled around the world. He travelled into Asia. He trained circus elephants. He was a prize fighter at one time. He did many different things. He was jumping on railroad cars. He worked in a fishery in Alaska. But he educated himself by reading lots of books, and as a writer, he would write 3 novels a year. At the time of his death in 1988, he'd written 101 books, and they were all still in print at the time of his death. He was a very popular Western writer. What is your favourite book by Louis L'Amour? Louis L'Amour was described as the laureate of the lariat. My favourite book by Louis L'Amour isn't actually a Western. It's Last of the Breed, which is one of the last books Louis L'Amour wrote. It was published, I think, in 1986, and he died in 1988. Last of the Breed was about an American Air Force pilot who was of Sioux heritage, who was shot down in Siberia, in the Soviet Union, during the Cold War, and he's in prison, but he escapes from prison. And it's really a survival tale and a tale of a fugitive escaping from the Russians. And the Russians send one of their native trackers to try to track him down, and he has to return to America via the Bering Strait, which is how his ancestors got to America. It's an interesting adventure of survival. It's a bit far-fetched, but it makes for a very good story. L is for love. What's your favourite novel with a romantic element? I don't read the romance genre very often. It's not one of my favourite genres. My favourite fictional romance was the one in Time Traveller's Wife between Claire and Henry. Henry is a reluctant time traveller. He has a condition where he has like a fit and he goes back in time or forward in time. He doesn't have a lot of control of where he goes, and it's about their relationship over the years. And sometimes Henry is much older than Claire, sometimes he's younger than Claire. It's a fascinating story. It's my favourite love story in fiction. L is for like. Have you liked this video? You don't have to like it. You could even dislike it if you want.
L is for Lamborghini. The last video I made was about Lamborghini. L is also for language. Do you have any books in a language you don't read? This book about Lamborghini by Otto Grizzi is in Italian. I don't know Italian. I don't read Italian. What languages do you read in? I can read in English and in French. I haven't read in French for a while. I had Maupassant Fort comme l'amour on my TBR a while back, but I haven't got around to it yet. I can be quite lazy. I'd like to be able to read in Georgian, but my Georgian is very elementary, so the only things I read in Georgian are very simple children's books. L is for Lingo, a word for language. This is a very interesting book by Gaston Terren, a Dutch linguist, about the languages of Europe. Here we have a map with some of the languages. Nothing's marked on for Georgia apart from Ossetian, because Georgian is not a European language.
Once upon a time, thousands of years ago, nobody knows quite when, in a faraway land, nobody knows quite where, there was a language that no one speaks today, and whose name has been forgotten, if it ever had one. Children learn their language from their parents, just as children do today. And they in turn passed it on to their children, and so on and so forth for generation after generation. In the course of all the centuries, the old language underwent constant change. It was a bit like a game of telephone, the last player hearing something quite different from what the first actually said. In this case, the last players are us. In this book, Gaston Terren talks about the languages of Europe. They began with a language called PIE, the Proto-Indo-European language, and he argues that the closest language to that today is Lithuanian. L is for Lithuanian. I don't speak Lithuanian apart from Labas diena, good day. The book is also full of little words from other languages that we don't have in English. For example, in Swedish there's the word lagom, which means just right, neither too much nor too little, in desirable moderation. L is for literary fiction. What do you understand by the term literary fiction? For some, this means a book with literary merit. It's sometimes used to distinguish literary fiction from genre fiction. Genre fiction is driven more by plot. Genre fiction is things like science fiction, crime, romance, police procedurals, westerns. Literary fiction is more character-driven, and the pace tends to be slower, almost dawdling at times. There's the Booker Prize, which is awarded to the best English novel each year, the best novel published in English in UK or Ireland. In 2001, The True History of the Kelly Gang by Peter Carey got the Booker Prize. In 2000 it was The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood. Literary fiction might also concern itself with social commentary or political commentary, or just a reflection of what it means to be human. L is for Lolita. So beautifully written, yet so messed up. Have you read Lolita, or have you seen the film Lolita? The film is different to the book. The film, Lolita is 16, in the book Lolita is 12. Is this a work of great literature, or is it just the obsession of a dirty old man? Few novels come with as much baggage as Lolita. It's a book that's been banned a few times. Man Carrying Thing did an interesting video about the different covers of Lolita. The original cover had no image on it. A lot of the covers in the 60s, they had the image from the film with Lolita and the sunglasses, but maybe the image of Humbert Humbert would be more appropriate than this. Yeah, it's messed up. L is for London, my hometown. What's your favourite book set in London? There's so many to choose from, but I think I'll choose Our Mutual Friend. This starts on the River Thames with Gaffer Hexam and his daughter Lizzie fishing out a body from the River Thames. The river features a lot during Our Mutual Friend. A lot of Dickens novels are set in London, like Oliver Twist, Dombey and Son, many. I asked at the beginning of this video, what do the these 4 characters have in common? And the answer is they all worked in libraries, they're all librarians. L is for librarian. Who is your favourite librarian? I think mine will be Katie, who I work with at the Australian Tourist Commission. I was working in the library, arranging the slides, and Katie was a very friendly Australian who helped me a lot. My first job ever was working in the local public library. As a 16-year-old, I had a Saturday job at my local public library in Slough, and I worked there for 2 years on Saturdays. This is the last prompt. L is for last. What's the last book you read? The last book I read was The Cartographer's Secret by T. Cooper. T. Cooper is an Australian writer. This was set in Australia. We begin in 1911 with Letty driving a newfangled Model T Ford. Hers was green. From Sydney to the Hunter Valley. She's reeling from the death of her brother Thorn, and she's going to see her aunt Olivia, who her mother Miriam tells her is a dreadful woman, but Letty finds out this is not the case, and it's a story, a historical fiction about adventure, about romance, about family feuds. It's a very interesting tale about people who got lost in the outback, and I really enjoyed it. I was hooked from the beginning to the end. Who do I tag? This is the L tag, so I'll tag Literary Lion, 2 L's there. Also Kate, the Literary Apothecary, very literary Carrie. Lily reads sometimes, and Leah T. Lind. I'll link to all of their channels in the show notes below, but if you like these prompts, please feel free to do the tag. And if you like this video, you can like and subscribe below, and I will see you on the next video. Goodbye.